So in order to do the average, we need to first invoke this function. So let's find out. Find average. Is that I transfer? Say I transfer the books inside this function. Okay. The parentheses. So in this line, in this document, alright, I just, by writing this function name, I invoked my function at the top, right here. So in this function part, I assume at first the sum is going to be 0. So I assume it is 0. And after that, I have a for loop. So same logic, I start I from equal to 0 and all the way to the 10, because the length for the books is going to be 10. And in this for loop, so every iteration I just, sum the previous sum together. So maybe for the first iteration, the sum right here is going to be 0. So right here it's going to be sum equals to 0 plus a0, right? But for the next iteration, the thing right here is actually going to be sum equals to sum plus a1, right? So this is for the second iteration. And for the next one, sum equals to sum plus alright. So it's actually happening here. It is actually a0 plus a1 plus a2. But right here, I just used the sum to represent these two items. I just used sum because for the previous two iterations, their value already added together and already be assigned to this sum variable. So the things I need to do every time is that I just use the AI. So it's more like a general code for the whole for loop instead of specific for a particular one-time iteration. So this is a general code for the whole 10 times iteration. So this is how to get the sum together. And after this loop, I want to calculate the average. So I just use the sum of this 10 iteration, and I use this sum divided by the end of length. So actually here is 10. So I use this sum divided by 10 to get the average. And I want to return this one because every function actually needs a return value. So return the average of this function. Then we could get the answer right here. Okay. The next is to find the largest. So so I want to finish the function first. Function first. So I hope you understand for this, find largest is not value. It actually returns index, because I said in my code I just write return large position. So the position right here is the index instead of a real actual value. So it is index which I will return for this function. So let's go down to see the invoke part. So for the invoke, I just call the function name right here on the right side of the equal sign. Alright. So if my function works successfully, this one will return an index number. So maybe I assume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The largest index is going to be 5 right here. So the number right here is actually going to be 5. So 5 where equals to 5. So this variable is going to be equal to 5. So, but actually I want to get the value instead of the index, instead of the position. So in order to do that, I just use the feature of the array. Alright. So this is a largest number in the array book array, and for this one is the largest person in the names array. Alright. So because I get the largest index from this function, so the var is going to be equal to 5 at this time, but this is only for the index, only for the position, but I want to get a value. So how do I get that? So I just use the array index 5 to get a value from the array, because in this array, the largest value of the position is this one. And for this value, the index for this value is 5. So I use books 5 to get this 99. Okay. And the same logic for name. Because the person who has the largest books is Dave. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The index number for Dave is 5. So I use names 5 in this array to output Dave from this array. Okay, and assign the Dave to who, and assign the 99 to largest. This is two variables that represent. So the largest represent the 99, and the who represent the Dave. Okay. So after that, we could just output who and just output the largest. Okay, it's pretty easy. So let's go back to the largest. So for the largest index, the first thing I do, I just assume the first position, the first index is the largest part, is the largest value. Assume, but it's not real. But I just assume the first one is A0 is the largest value. And I just assume the index 0 is the largest position. And after this, after my assumption, I just go inside this for loop. And same logic, I equal to 0, I smaller than 10, I plus plus. There's totally 10 iterations. So if in this 10 iterations, if anytime I found that, maybe I found that actually A1, maybe let's go back. Is A1 greater than 75? No, it's not. So we don't do this body part. And for the next one, is 24 greater than 75? Is not. Is 68 greater than 75? Is not. But for this one, is 99 greater than 75? Yes, it is. Then we go inside this if statement, because A5 right here is greater than the A0. So I just change the variables. I just use A5, I assign A5 to the large, and I assign index 5 to the large position. So in this way, I accomplish the exchange from an assumption with the real situation, with the real A5, because it is real stuff. And we keep going because there are totally 10 iterations. Alright, so keep going. Is because the largest right here is 99, and the largest position right here is going to be 5. So everything after that will be compared to this 99, to this position. So is 72 greater than 99? No. Is 16 greater than that? No. Is 12? No. Is 14? No. Is 37? No. So we go over these 10 iterations and found that actually this 99 is the greatest, and the index number 5 is the greatest position, right? So after that, we just return that we just get out of this for loop, and we just return the largest position. And in this example, actually, it is 5. So we just return 5 for this function. Okay. Yeah. Let's check my final. Oh, sorry. Yeah, right here it's not 5, but I know it's 5, but it's not 5. But I use var right here, but actually the value of var is 5. It doesn't matter. For the last one, oh, for the star, for the array stuff. So let's look at this web page. So the basic format is that Joy and a star new line. So the number of book that Joy have, and after this number, there's actually 75 stars after this integer number. Okay. So maybe for this one we need two for loops, which means a nested loop. So the first thing we need to do that is that I want to go through this 10 people. Okay, so the work of first for loop is that I want to go through from Joy to Paul. So this 10 people, 10 iterations. And let's say, so I start from I equals to 0. And because the book length is 10, so 0 is smaller than 10, and increment all the way to 9, right? So totally it will execute it for 10 times. And in the body part, it just document.write names, start from 0, plus br, start new line, plus books, the number of book each person have. So in this example, is like for the first iteration, the name is Joy, and this is say right here, name Joy and books 0. Name 0 is Joy, books 0 is 75, right? And for the next iteration, the name is Mary, right? The books is 45. For the next iteration, names 2, Tom, books 2, 24, right? So this is the first iteration. It's like a vertical. But for the second for loop, I want to do it horizontally, because the first for loop I just do from the top to the bottom. But for the second for loop, I want to do the horizontally, because I want to deal with each of the person. Okay. So I want to finish Joy for my second for loop. So I declare the variable star. I want to assume that the star equals 0 at first. And if the star is smaller than the book the person have, maybe for the first example is that the Joy have maybe for the first one, so the first one, Joy had book 75 books. So the books 0, the value for this one is going to be 75. So this second for loop will execute it for 75 times until it said 75 is not smaller than 75 anymore. So this will end. And every time it executes, there will a star print out. So for each person, there will be a star print out. So this is the logic for all the way from Joy to Paul. Each person will have this execution. Okay.